My name is Jean Rao. I'm the Associate Director of Survivorship Programs for the Young Survival Coalition, and I, along with all these nice ladies at this table, are grantees of a cooperative grant that our organizations were awarded through the CDC. And I'm going to read you just a little bit about that so you know that that's a little bit while we're here. So we are all in the 4th year of the grant. It's a 5-year grant. So in 2014, they funded 7 organizations that you're going to hear about today for a 5-year cooperative grant called Multiple Approaches to Increase Awareness and Support Among Young Women Diagnosed with Breast Cancer. And this is under the statutory authorities of the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, Young Women's Breast Health Awareness and Support of Young Women Diagnosed with Breast Cancer. And there's some codes that I'm not going to read you after that. The total funding for the 5 years is approximately $2.5 million, and the average grant award each year is $360,000. I'm reading you information off of the CDC website, so this is public. I'm not disclosing anything, that I shouldn't be. About the cooperative grant itself, this is about addressing gaps in different support and health communication, marketing, and media approaches to disseminating health messages to young breast cancer survivors. And this really is getting into details around family history and genetic risks, psychosocial health and support, fertility, reproductive health, family support, lifestyle behaviors, and the structured support services to young breast cancer survivors from the time they're diagnosed through long treatment, regardless of their stage or where they are in their journey. So, again, this information is on the website. YSC is not going to give you a 5-minute snapshot, which the rest of the organizations are, because our work, our mission, we would be doing this work regardless of the grant, because everything we do is for young breast cancer survivors. Come on in. And so you are seeing firsthand this weekend, pretty up close and personal, what we do. And there's a wealth of information on our website about other programs that we offer, and we have a YSC table in the exhibit hall that can tell you a lot about that. I'm certainly available to you. Come on in if you have questions about anything specific to our programming. We also have a co-survivor track that's a big part of our grant. Co-survivor is anybody who's a spouse, partner, parent, sibling, friend, or a child who is age 18 or older. So the grantees here today are all organizations that have an arm of programming focused on young women with breast cancer, and what they're going to be telling you about today is the programming they're doing under the grant itself that's focused on young women. And you'll learn very quickly that it's a variety, it's a real variety of representation. Some of it's medically based at a hospital, some of it's nonprofits like us, some of it's based in very specific breast cancer populations and high risk. So I think you are all in for a real treat. What we're going to do is have everybody give their 5-minute presentations and then take questions. So I sure wish the ladies on the back row would come up a little bit closer. We won't bite, and if you have to leave early and want to go somewhere else, nobody's going to be offended. So Dana-Farber is first, and I'm going to turn it over to them. And you're going to advance the slides yourself? Okay. And thanks for being here.
Hopefully this is working, yes. So hi everyone, my name is Stephanie Cram, and I work with the Young and Strong program at Dana-Farber Cancer Institute. We're based up in Boston, Massachusetts. I don't know if there's anyone from Boston in here today. A lot of our programming, though, certainly is accessible to people wherever they live, so we'll be going into that a little bit more. I know I'm supposed to keep this to 5 minutes, so I'll try to keep this short and sweet. This is a glimpse of our team here. So the program was started by Dr. Ann Partridge. She's a breast oncologist, so she treats a lot of young women with breast cancer. And her research really focuses on young women with breast cancer and getting a better understanding of the biology of the disease and also improving the care for young women. And I am one of the program coordinators, so I meet with our young patients in clinic, and then I also take part in developing a lot of our programming. So a little bit of background about the program, and I think this we all know all too well. The program started just realizing the need to address these issues that are unique to young women diagnosed with breast cancer, that there was a gap in the care there, especially for those coming into clinic. So addressing these things like fertility and sexual health, genetic risk, and just the emotional piece of it early on is why the program started. So in 2005, the program began called Young and Strong, the program for young women with breast cancer. And initially the program served women diagnosed at 42 or younger. We now serve women diagnosed at 44 and younger thanks to the CDC grant. And to date, we've directly served over 4,000 new young patients coming into the breast oncology clinic at Dana-Farber. So some of our programming and services. So as I mentioned, as the program coordinator, I meet with every young woman who comes into the clinic before she meets with the oncologist or the surgeon and introduce her to the program, talk about all of these issues, talk about the resources available, and make referrals, and then follow up with her throughout her care. So realizing that that's a lot of information to get on day one when you're also getting a ton of medical info, we've really extended our outreach to be 3 weeks out from that initial visit and then really through survivorship. So after active treatment has ended, as they call it, we'll reach out and make sure that she's coordinated into our survivorship clinic, getting a treatment care plan, and cared for through survivorship as well. And so I know I've talked a lot about what's available if you are coming into Boston as a Dana-Farber patient, but we also have a lot of programming, and that is accessible to anyone regardless of where they are having their care. So I think that's really important to know. We have a telephone support group, and that, again, is you do not have to be a patient, and we actually have had some international patients take part of that group. So it takes place twice a year, facilitated by a Dana-Farber social worker. We also have a lot of quarterly webcasts, again, thanks to the CDC grant. We've started to do those. Based on topics like nutrition. Our last one was on research updates, the past, present, and future of research for young women with breast cancer. And we have in-person workshops up in Boston, sexual health workshops, and just we've actually started to have more just social gatherings, like a knitting workshop or a yoga workshop that takes place on Saturdays, days that it's a little easier to get to instead of a weeknight. And we have an annual forum. Our next one will be October 12th, and that is similar to a day like this. It's really a wonderful day of just support and education and bringing everyone together, patients and their loved ones. Educational materials. So when I meet with a young woman, I hand out all of these materials. They're all actually at our expo table, so if you want to stop by and take a look or take anything home with you, please feel free. We're really excited. We just launched a new website, so everything will be stored in one place, which is really great. And you can find that going to Dana-Farber's website, searching for Young and Strong. We also send out monthly e-newsletters, so that's another really great way for everyone to stay in the loop about our upcoming programming and any research updates. And speaking of research, so I did just want to mention, because in addition to all the supportive services and programming that we offer, we do have a pretty robust research program. So Helping Ourselves, Helping Others, the Young Women's Breast Cancer Study was started by Dr. Partridge. She's the principal investigator. And it's closed for enrollment, but it has enrolled over 1,300 young women, and those young women will be followed for, I think it's now 20 years, so really some valuable data on what it's like to experience breast cancer and for the long term too. And we will shortly be launching the Young Women's 2 study, so that should be coming up soon, which also is very exciting. It will be intervention-based as well. A couple of studies that are currently open for young breast cancer survivors, and these are all multi-site. So again, you do not have to come into Dana-Farber to participate in these studies. One is Positive, so this has gotten a lot of press lately. It's looking at pregnancy after breast cancer and interrupting endocrine therapy at I think the earliest is 18 months, and then trying to get pregnant and looking at the safety of doing so. And Pathways to Wellness, which I know one of our other, Johns Hopkins, is a part of Pathways to Wellness too. So that is a study looking at survivorship education and mindfulness as 2 courses to improve wellness in survivorship for young breast survivors. I'm happy to talk about these more later too. So I've covered a lot of this, but this really summarizes all of the programmatic work that we've been able to expand upon with the CDC grant, reaching patients at an older age. And we also have expanded to not only work at the Boston location, but our affiliates, which are 5 sites throughout New England, to get that personal level of care. Our webcast series, the Survivorship Navigation, really continuing care into survivorship. And we also have initiated tumor boards. So for Dr. Partridge, we'll host tumor boards that solely focuses on young women cases, and that is, again, open to any site to present the cases and have these experts weigh in on it. Okay, and last slide. So ways to get involved. If you're interested in research, I mentioned those 2 studies, and again, I'm happy to talk about more. That's a wonderful way to be involved in research and survivorship. Mentoring is huge for us, so we have Soulmates, which is a face-to-face program, so again, might be a little bit more relevant if you're in the Boston area, but One-to-One is a mentoring program that's phone-based, and it's for not only patients, but co-survivors, and a really wonderful opportunity if you are interested in mentoring. And if you would like to receive information about all of our programming and the research updates, feel free to email us, or again, you can stop by the expo table and sign up there. Thank you.
Yeah. Is this, nope, oh, so you clicked it off.
Oh, yeah, we have to click it off.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, yay, I think you got that in within 5 minutes. I'm very impressed. No, good morning, everyone. So my name is Maida Sutliff. I'm the Director of Education and Research at FORCE. Hopefully there are some of you I know that are aware of our organization. We are not based anywhere, actually. Our staff is 100% remote, and we are an organization focused on hereditary breast cancer. So let me get to the first slide. Hereditary cancers, so mostly breast, ovarian, pancreatic, prostate. And so I am here to talk for a few minutes about a program supported through the CDC grant called X-rays. And it's a little different. It's going to be a nice contrast to what was just discussed at Dana-Farber, because this program is really kind of targeted, and it is, X-ray stands for Examining the Relevance of Articles for Young Survivors. And it is a program that provides honest reviews of breast cancer research and news. And that's kind of a fancy way of saying we kind of cut through all the clutter and the crap out there in social media and on Facebook and try to get to what makes a difference to young women affected by breast cancer. So a lot of what we read nowadays can be very misleading, and if you look at articles online, it's really difficult to find out where that information is coming from. And even if you could get to the original research article, how do you understand? I mean, I am not a researcher. I have some background in public health and in statistics and in data, but I can't understand a lot of these articles. And that's where X-rays came in. To each week, we publish reports or reviews of what is happening out there in breast cancer research. These reviews are written by FORCE staff. They're run through an independent editor and then also vetted by an expert member of our FORCE Scientific Advisory Board. So here's an example of a review. And you know, a lot of these are coming out of celebrity news. And all of us, I think, remember all the buzz around Angelina Jolie. And so you can see the headlines. A gene that causes cancer probably doesn't increase your chances of dying from cancer. So you're going to click on that, right? So what does that mean? And where is that data coming from? That's what X-rays looks at. So here it is in 3 steps. We take a look at the original research and we summarize it in plain language so that it's fairly easy to understand. We also, and this is, I think, the heart of the X-rays program, we look at the clinical relevance. What does this research, what does this article, what does this subject mean to you as a young woman affected by breast cancer? And we actually give it a rating. There's a meter, if you can see that. I'll give some other examples, from low to high. And then here is where actually I think is also very interesting. We rate the accuracy of the media coverage around the research. So we'll do a sampling. I'm on private survivor Facebook groups. I'm a young survivor. So I, will always share articles like, what does this mean? And when we see that buzz, we'll take a look at those articles and we rate it, and we actually give it a star rating, kind of like what you see with Yelp, with restaurant ratings, 1 star to 5 star. So that way you can look at our reviews and look at a sampling of the media and say, wow, Newsweek got a 5-star rating on this research. That's a source that I can trust. So that's the idea. Okay, so I'm going to have some examples, because really, I think nothing hits home like this. If you look on your left, this journal article, and this is a recent article, Acquired CYP19A Amplification is an Early Specific Mechanism of Aromatase Inhibitor, blah, 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 blah. Like, I have no idea what that means. And so then what we do is look at that, and if you look on your right, I think that's on your right, right? Yeah. This is our interpretation of that title, Common Genetic Change Found in Some Tumors of Patients Who Relapse After Aromatase Inhibitor Treatment. Okay, I can get my head around that, and then what we do is summarize. And not only do we summarize, but we look at limitations of the study. What does this mean for you? What are questions you can ask your healthcare provider? I'm trying to go quick. Okay, so we summarize the research. The next step is that relevance and that meter that I told you about from low to high. What this means is a lot of what we see out there in the breast cancer news is basic research. And by basic, I don't mean it's bad research. I mean that it's research done in test tubes in mice. And I have a feeling all of you are going to immediately go to what came out last week with the cancer vaccine out of Stanford, how they were curing tumors in mice. Very interesting, very promising. But what does that mean for you next week when you go meet with your clinician? Well, it really doesn't mean much. It's not very relevant to your care at this moment in time. So that, we actually just x-rayed that this week, and that got a kind of a low relevance score, although the research it's based on is well done. Things that are practice changing, that are clinical, changes to ACOG guidelines, those get a highly relevant score, meaning you as a young woman that's been diagnosed with breast cancer can take this to your doctor and say, how can I learn more about this? Is this a possibility for me in my decision making? Okay. So here's an example quickly, because nothing hits home like what you see in the media. Again, Angelina Jolie, DNA repair factor, BRCA1 depletion occurs in Alzheimer's brains and impairs cognitive function in mice. Okay, when this came out, the media went crazy. It reads like there may be a link between BRCA1 and Alzheimer's. That's not the case. This was research done in mice looking at patients with Alzheimer's, not patients with breast cancer that eventually got Alzheimer's. So it's a very subtle distinction when you're looking at headlines. We x-rayed this, gave a summary, talked about the limitations, and gave it a medium-low relevance score. Okay, so again, when you see one of our x-rays and it has a low relevance score, it doesn't mean that the research was bad. It just means that it may not impact your care now. So that's just very important to understand, and there's a couple examples here. A high relevance score would be guidelines for DCIS breast-conserving surgery have changed. Well, if you've been recently diagnosed with DCIS, you're going to want to know that those guidelines have changed. Hopefully your physician knows, your surgeon, but if not, we can share what those guidelines are. And the last thing I want to talk about, so we talked about the summary of the research in each review, the relevance to you as a young woman affected by breast cancer, and then we rate the accuracy of the media coverage. And so here's an article, Remarkable Breast Cancer Trial Destroys Tumor in Just 11 Days. Oh my God, I mean, that's like the Holy Grail, right? If you read that title, well, if you dig deeper, when we looked at it, headlines claim drug combination destroys tumor in 11 days. Is this too good to be true? And yeah, it's too good to be true. And if you read through, this was actually only applicable to, I think, HER2-positive breast cancer. It wasn't even anybody with breast cancer. So you just, you can go through and get some more information that you can trust. Or, as I call it, what the news. So this is another example. On your right is an article that got this so horribly wrong, this research. Black women twice as likely to suffer from breast and ovarian cancer. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, so here's another article. Genetics may fuel aggressive breast cancers in black women. Okay, that makes sense. And so you look at the star rating. we gave that a 5-star rating. That's an article that you could go to and read and really get the gist of what the research is trying to, the results are trying to convey. Whereas the other article, not so much. So this is what X-rays is. It's a summary of the research, it's a meter rating of clinical relevance, and it's rating the accuracy of the media coverage. And these are just screenshots of what our reviews look like with the summary, and then here's 3 articles that we rated, and you can see the range in media accuracy is particularly significant when you compare them side to side. So please connect with us online, facingourrisk.org, /X-rays gets you to the X-rays. We publish them weekly. We have an info table. You can meet Bailey and I at the table all day today. We'll be there if you're interested, and I have some information up here too. And we of course have to acknowledge the support from the CDC, and particularly we have a terrific steering committee of which there are 4 partner organizations. YSC is one, Living Beyond Breast Cancer, SHARSHERET'S, and Tiger Lily Foundation, who help guide us and how we, our materials, and how we're promoting our X-rays. And we also have a fantastic volunteer steering committee, and of course I couldn't do it alone, some terrific staff members, co-workers at Force too. So thank you so much. I hope you'll check out X-rays, so thanks. Probably went over 5 minutes.
Good morning. I feel better when I stand. I'm not as nervous. So I'm going to go ahead and do that if that's all right. Thank you. I am here with the Gulf States Young Breast Cancer Survivor Network. This was born in South Louisiana with an organization called SurviveDat. I think maybe some of you might be familiar with WhoDat. We grew from that. And we've now partnered with people in Alabama and Mississippi. We cover all 3 states. And this is a long way of saying what we're doing is we're the only one of these grantees who works all online. We are trying to reach women through online resources, websites, and social media platforms. And we've done a pretty good job on this, and I think it's a testament to how great the need was in the Gulf states. We actually hit our 5-year target in 2 months of the number of people we wanted to reach. And why this is particularly important in the Gulf states, there's more young breast cancer, more women suffering from that in the Deep South, because more young black women are susceptible to it. And this is really important that we reach those people. And another reason we have more people suffering it, also we're less likely to be in cities or places where there are support groups. A lot of our women are in more rural areas or smaller areas, and I think a lot of you know as young breast cancer survivors, sometimes it's hard to connect with people who are your age who are going through this. I've talked to people over and over again who want to talk to somebody their age and connect with those people, and they don't often have that in the places where they are. So it's particularly important for us that we reach people where they live. One of the ways I think we've been so successful at that is because we do a lot of custom content, and we really try and grab people. Right here, this young woman here is Michelle Lawrence, who is one of our student workers. I'm based out of New Orleans at the LSU School of Public Health. And Michelle was one of my student workers whose mother had breast cancer when she was young. And so she lived through that. She's at higher risk. She has to go in very often and be checked. And here she was she's getting her PhD in public health. So she worked for us, and she had such a story to tell and so much good advice and so much wisdom that we decided to capture that. So she wrote a blog about talking to children when you have breast cancer. We created an infographic based on that. We also made a movie with her, and which was just shown, and I love this. This was shot by students. It was not a professional feature, but it actually was accepted at the American Public Health Association last fall and shown. So I'd love you guys to go to our website and take a look. We did that infographic about how you talk to your kids with cancer. You can read her blog. You can see her movie. You can hear her own words about her experience. And when we were talking about all of this, we do a series of, like, as I said, custom content. We build things around this, and that at the top was the Facebook cover that we drew attention to this so that Michelle could tell her story. And we were very happy. We got a lot of really good results and a lot of interaction with that. Now, I put this slide up here because a lot of times I'm talking to people who are doing what I'm doing. I put this up so you guys know we are really working all the time to keep our content fresh and happy. Social media is a beast. It eats constantly, you know. So we're always working on things to grab your attention, graphics, you know, blogs, movies, things that will speak to you, will help you. So I'm going to kind of just run through an example of some of the things we do. Obviously, we're trying to create awareness that women under 45 do get breast cancer. These are some of the more specific sorts of things that we talk about. We want to address the issues that are germane to young breast cancer survivors, like career information, genetics, fertility. So we will do general things, and also then certain months we do very specific. Like February and March, we're talking about genetics a lot on these sites. Once again, more of this sort of general information, you know, general awareness, letting people know. And we really also get specific to our people, the women in our area. We need people to understand that this is a problem here in the Gulf South. And especially for black women, we need them to be aware. I've heard too many stories of young women who've gone into a doctor thinking something was wrong and have been told, you're too young to get breast cancer. We all know that's not true. My big thing in this is I want women to be able to feel, if they feel something's wrong, to go in and be able to stand their ground with the doctor. Because I've heard this over and over and over again. You know, some of this is where we dive a little bit deeper. That's like a Facebook cover, and then the 3 posts let people know that we have 3 sections on our website dealing with fertility. Before treatment, during treatment, after treatment. We're just trying to always put out the information and let people know that it's there and to help go, you know, look for it. It's all there on the website. This was some of our relationship stuff. This was specifically, I told you we had done with Michelle. We had talked about children, relationship. This was more centered on dating and, you know, partner relationships. We have a lot of information on that. Talking about finances, careers, we have sections on that. Obviously, we also mix things up about pictures and illustrations and things like that. And as I mentioned, that's the infographic that we had done about talking to your children with cancer, because we were in the Gulf States, and right before hurricane season last year, we have to talk about evacuating all the time. We wanted to be sure that people knew what they needed to pack up when they left, because it's a little different for a cancer patient, and that got an amazing response, you know. So we're always trying to come up with content that's relevant to people and that they can use. This is a new thing this is on SurviveDat, specifically the Louisiana one, but obviously anybody can chime in on this. We are getting ready to start a live chat with a licensed therapist who's the most amazing woman. Her husband, her childhood sweetheart, died very young of cancer. She can relate, and she does a lot of work with cancer survivors, and she's going to be leading these chats online. We want people to kind of come in. We're going to be running a series of videos sort of as you get to know Mary Catherine. She kind of tells her story, and she can talk. She wants to talk about what anybody wants to talk to on these sort of live online chats. So please check it out on SurviveDat. She just had a baby. We're letting her kind of recover from that, but we'll be starting that pretty soon. So go to SurviveDat if you want to learn more about that. We just redid our websites end of last summer. This is sort of this is a shot of sort of the homepage. I kind of wanted to point this out because we sort of have, I always call this sort of 3 main sections of our website. And I'm sorry if I'm talking too fast, I do that. Oh, sorry. Oh, I thought I was loud enough without it. Advice from experts, where we go through a series of things, sort of your breast cancer journey. One of the things we always want people to know when they're newly diagnosed is before you agree to anything, go find out all your options. We know a big problem is that doctors rush women into treatment very quickly, and you may have to do things if you're thinking about having children one day. We have a whole checklist of things that you should do as soon as you're diagnosed before you start treatment. We want you to find these things out. And obviously we cover all through the cancer journey, talking about side effects, genetics, work, career, money, all sorts of things. I love this section. This is women, in their own words, telling their own stories. Nobody knows better. what you've gone through than other women. And they're great. They can be sad, they can be funny, they can be full of great advice. These are really incredible stories. I mean, we have one story in there is a daughter who was diagnosed with breast cancer, and as her mother was helping, her mother got diagnosed with breast cancer, and how they went through this journey together. This section, 5 support, this is, it looks a little prosaic, but this is a really great section because if you can go through, we have everything from in the area listed. We have national resources, which is good for everybody. We also get down to the local level talking about where maybe there's a good wig store, in Jackson or New Orleans or who might be good at doing eyebrows. We have lots of stuff on financial aid and free stuff that I wish everybody would find out about. There are a lot of resources out there, so we really encourage people to go through those resources and check them out. And anyway, that's it. Those are our 3 websites, part of the Gulf States Young Breast Cancer Survivor. Please check them out. We're constantly adding new content, movies, blogs, things like that, and we just want to be able to help you. And also, I would love to hear from anybody who I've missed something or thinks we ought to cover something or wants to tell their story. Please contact us because we always want to hear from you and we always want to improve and have information out there that can help you. So thank you very much for your time. Sorry for the spotty microphone.
I might just relocate. Okay. Sure. Is that okay? Hi, everyone. I'm Elizabeth from Johns Hopkins, and our presentation is a little more low-tech. We, let's see here. This guy? Okay. Going backwards. All right. Thank you. Yeah, had the thing turned around. Okay. So, this is our program, which is somewhat similar to Dana-Farber's, but we really, I think the CDC funding allowed us to begin our Young Women's program. We've always had excellent medical care at Hopkins, but recognize that there are areas that we need to improve in, such as the psychosocial care for young women with breast cancer. So these are the challenges that I think most of you guys know about and live with every day. What I want you to think about as I go through these slides is that no matter where you're being treated, you can ask for specific services for young women. Now, not every institution or local cancer center or oncologist office is going to have the resources that a place like Johns Hopkins has, but you can ask for things that are relevant and realistic where you are being treated. So these were the major outcomes through our CDC funding. And then this looks at some of our educational materials. We do have a binder that we give all young women, has space to write down what you're dealing with, who you're meeting. We do see lots of women for second opinions, and we give this information to them as well. We have a survivorship day that's relevant, I think, for people living regionally. It's not something that necessarily going to come to you if you live in California, but it's open to people, and I do want to credit our director, Veered Stearns, and Alyssa, who's pictured here. They really make an effort to have resources and programming open to women who are being treated anywhere. So our Survivorship Day is not just for Hopkins patients. We also do one-on-one support, and the CDC grant has allowed for that. So that the woman picture there with short hair is actually my predecessor, Beth, who was a survivor. And she retired a little early, and I joined the group about a year ago. So we do one-on-one navigation with women. We have a support group that meets. We have 2, one for young women living with metastatic disease and one for young women living with disease that is expected to be cured. And those are also open to women at any institution. They don't have to be Hopkins patients. And I will say, after working in the young adult cancer world for 15 years, I have never had such a successful support group structure. I mean, we've gotten to the point where we've felt like we need to get a new room because we're typically having 15 to 20 ladies at our monthly groups. And then we try to have fun family events too, like our bowling fiesta that we had over the summer. And we just actually had a Valentine's Day dinner, which was just lovely, free to couples, and we had a speaker on sexuality and intimacy. This is kind of offering, through our programming and through our CDC funding, building these partnerships to have real-life options for physical activity and nutrition. We have a partnership with the Y, where they will actually, there's 4 sites in the Baltimore area, and they are giving our women 2 months free membership, as well as their partners, as well as their kids, and then working on reduced rates after that. We also have a bunch of exercise videos online in our Cancer Fighting Kitchen course, which we've purchased for our patients. We're developing an app, so we do have a little bit of a high-tech side to us. The app's almost developed actually for our patients to work through collecting treatment information and mapping out like a photo flip book, which allows patients to figure out where they're going. Hopkins is a huge place. And I kind of want to close with sort of what our colleagues at Dana-Farber talked about, being involved in research. It doesn't have to be like clinical trial research. It can be quality of life research, but you really have the power to shape what we know about breast cancer, what we know about how it impacts women right after treatment, during treatment, and for decades after. So we are partnered in the Pathways study. And if you guys have any questions, please come by our booth. If you want to know how to maybe incorporate some of these programs that big institutions like Hopkins or Dana-Farber are doing in your small hospital in New Mexico, I'd be happy to chat with you. And I really appreciate you guys listening and being part of this today. And I will turn it over to Erin.
All right, good morning, everyone. My name is Erin Allen Hansen. I think I'm going to be in the standing group. So I am on staff at Living Beyond Breast Cancer, and I also want to point out my colleague, Becky, who's there. And we are sort of the Young Women's Initiative team at Living Beyond Breast Cancer. So I'm going to briefly talk about our programs for women diagnosed under 45. So Living Beyond Breast Cancer's mission is to connect people with trusted breast cancer information and a community of support. And we have Dana and Davina there. And so our Young Women's Initiative, so we were founded as an organization in 1991, and we have been offering tailored information for young women since our founding, but we received our first cooperative agreement with the CDC in 2011, and that really allowed us to expand and strengthen our programs for young women and develop new programs. And we are estimating that through all of our programs, including all of our virtual ones, we're reaching about 100,000 young women and their families through all of our different programs that I'll get into in a second. So that's our websites, our live stream, as well as our in-person events. So one of our sort of core philosophies as an organization is that we understand that women want information in a wide variety of ways and are looking for support. So we do offer programs and services through these 4 main formats: online, in print, by phone, and in person. And I'll get more in depth into those young women's focused work in a second. So the first program I wanted to focus is our 2 national conferences. Our next conference is coming up on April 20th through 22nd in Philly, and it is our metastatic focus conference. So that is our next one, and then our following conference at the end, a little later in 2018, is our annual conference, which is for all stages of breast cancer, early stage and METs. We also have a lot of triple negative. We partner with the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation foundation with that program too, so there's a lot of triple negative content in that program too. And although both of those conferences are for people affected by breast cancer and caregivers of all ages, we do have a large group of young women that are joining us, so 40 to 60% of the audience. And we do offer specific workshops for young women, as well as a happy hour on Friday evening, so people can sort of connect early on in the program. So that's our conferences. Next, our phone-based service is our breast cancer helpline. And through this helpline, you can be connected to a trained volunteer who's been diagnosed with breast cancer for emotional support, guidance, and hope. It is a matching service, so you'll call up and a short sort of intake, and then you'll be matched with a trained volunteer. We do have 45% of the active helpline volunteers all across the country have been diagnosed before age 45. In our Young Advocate program, we have Yolanda in there, who's one of our Young Advocates. So our Young Advocate program is one of our 3 leadership volunteer programs. And through this program, young women are trained to use their personal experience with breast cancer to make a difference, to raise awareness in the communities. And so what happens is the in-person training. Our next one will be held in July. We are excited that we have trained 146 young women to date, spanning from 40 states. There's a number of other young women, young advocates here at this conference. So if you're curious about that program, come and talk to me or Becky or many of the other young advocates that are here. And we are launching the next application training sort of late April, early May. So keep an eye out for that. So our online, so this is a great way for us to really share our virtual resources, educate young women from across the country, sometimes even internationally as well. So if you go to our landing page there, ywbc.org/youngwomen, you'll find all of the tailored resources for young women on that section of our website. So that includes summaries of breast cancer research that has come out, profiles of young women and their stories. Breast Cancer 360s is a program for us where there's an in-person panel discussion that is then live streamed. We just held one on Wednesday on healthcare provider communication, and so we've covered the science of recurrence in the fall. So they're really great programs, and anyone can access them live. We also record them, and they're available on video as well. We do Twitter chats. One is coming up on triple-negative breast cancer in a few weeks, so keep an eye out for that. Webinars, and then our video series is called Let's Talk About It. There's 13 videos that can be found that are about health education topics for young women, sex and intimacy, early menopause, coping, those sorts of things. We do have a text service called YWI Connect. If you text that number, you'll be subscribed to receive text messages. It's only about 2 to 3 a month. You're not going to get harassed by us every day, but it's a great way to just get connected and learn about our new resources specific for young women. Another great way to stay connected is through our closed Facebook group. So there's about 1,500, I think, people that are part of this online community. It's a great way to get peer support and connect with people from across the country. But it's also, LWBC is also just talking about our programs or opportunities that are available for young women. And then we have Fatima there, who is one of our young advocates. Our young advocates also serve as monthly hosts. So they're facilitating conversation, monitoring what's going on, and just sort of hosting and taking care of the group for a month. So there's Fatima there, she's our current host this month, I believe. So just to close, we of course have an exhibit table. Please come by. I also have some materials up here if you want to grab them. I encourage you to sign up for our mailing list, sign up for the texting, or join the Facebook group is the best way to stay connected to the breadth of what we have to offer. I hope something has sparked your interest in sort of in something that you're looking for education and support through living beyond breast cancer. And here's you can connect with Becky and me through this way. So thank you so much. Last but not least.
Perfect. Hi, I'm Brianna Schwartz. I apologize. I'm fighting this lost voice. It's because I've had the opportunity to speak with so many of you the last few days. I'm Brianna Schwartz. I'm on the staff at SHARSHERET. With the funding we received, we are able to focus on enhancing and strengthening our structure for our support services for young Jewish women. So a little bit about SHARSHERET. Our mission is up there. SHARSHERET is the Hebrew word for chain, and the name was chosen because we are linking young Jewish women and their families facing breast cancer. It's important to note that while our expertise is in the young Jewish population, our services are open for free and free for everyone. We estimate that about 20% of the population we serve is not Jewish. So we are supporting young Jewish women and families facing breast cancer, those at an increased risk of breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and other related cancers. So SHARSHERET'S story, our founder was 28 years old when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she turned to the community, to her Jewish community, and was looking to speak to someone else who had gone through a cancer diagnosis. Friends and family came out and said, I can connect you to my grandmother, I can connect you to my aunt, but what she really wanted to speak to was another young Jewish mom. And lo and behold, she was connected to another woman who was 6 months further along in her cancer diagnosis, similar age, similar family background, and they were the first link in SHARSHERET'S chain. From that, when they came to the end of their survivorship, they said, we can't be the only two women that are going through this. We know there's more. So SHARSHERET was founded to be able to provide that support for young Jewish women. From that initial match, we now have over 80,000 people in our network. We have over 9,000 people as part of our peer support network. So we really are filling a void that was in the Jewish community and in the cancer community as well. So the most frequent question I get is, how do you pronounce SHARSHERET? The second most frequent question is, what's Jewish about breast cancer? Why the need for an organization specifically for young Jewish women? I can obviously talk about that for more than 5 minutes, but as a Jewish person, we have a lot of common concerns: genetics, culture, spirituality. All of these are taken into account when someone is facing a cancer diagnosis. So SHARSHERET helps women navigate through that and address some of these concerns that are unique to the Jewish community. Our programs at SHARSHERET, we have 12 support and education programs. They fall into these two support and education buckets. The LINK program is what we use our grants funding goes towards, which is what our support programs are. Our patient navigation, we really feel that our program should be available to women as they need it, when they need it, which is why a lot of our resources are online and over the phone. And we want it to be convenient for everyone. So we have cultural and age-appropriate psychosocial and reproductive resources for breast cancer survivors throughout their cancer journey. We help them navigate through, create a navigation plan. SHARSHERET is staffed by social workers. We also have a genetic counselor on staff. So when you call SHARSHERET, someone always picks up the phone, and you're going to speak to a professional helping you. Our peer support network, which I mentioned was founded by the first two women, we create one-on-one peer connections. And young women are newly diagnosed or at increased risk are able to speak to someone else who has had a similar diagnosis, at a similar stage of life, with a similar connection to Judaism, a similar family background. Each of the matches we do is personalized. There's no such thing as one size fits all at SHARSHERET. We really take our time to individually match women. Everything we do is confidential, and it's all free for the women we serve. And we also have a very robust genetics program because the Ashkenazi Jewish community, which are Jews of Eastern European descent, are at an increased risk for being carriers of the BRCA mutation. So we have an entire program focused on support for genetics information. We also have healthcare symposium to address genetic concerns. Our Thriving Again is our survivorship program, which if you come by our booth, or today I also have sign-up sheets right here, we provide personalized survivorship kits. They're free, so they're really fantastic. I encourage everyone to sign up for one. We also have professional and peer support for survivorship, educational teleconferences, and again, survivorship care plans. So with the CDC Cooperative Agreement, we focus on 3 areas: evaluation, collaboration, and then nutrition, exercise, genetics, and resources. We work with the Georgetown Lombardi comprehensive cancer center to evaluate our programs and figure out what's working and how we can better serve the needs of our women. We also focus on collaborating with different partnerships. We have over 80 partnerships nationwide with synagogues, Jewish community centers, cancer centers, to be able to reach women increase our reach nationally. And we've been updating our nutrition, exercise, and genetic resources to really stay up and current with the times. Just to give you a little picture of our national impact, we have 3 offices. Our headquarters are in New Jersey. I head up the Florida office, and then we also have one in California. We have more than 9,000 Jewish women in our breast cancer support network, and as I said, we have more than 80,000 people that we've served. Yeah, wow, I like that answer. So I hope that you can connect with us and get involved. There are several ways that you can get involved that's different. I encourage you to get involved in a way that's meaningful to you. So whether you pick up our Thriving Again order form and you order a kit that we personalize and mail to you, or if you want to become part of our peer support network, I also encourage you to visit our website. We're very active on social media. As you said, social media is a beast. We're also trying to make sure that we're constantly posting relevant information. So I really encourage you to get involved with our programs and resources and come say hello at our booth. Thank you.
Let's get a big round of applause for everybody. So a lot of you came in after I gave a little bit of an opener, so I just want to reiterate, YSC is one of the grantees, but I am not sitting up there because you are at our summit and you are seeing so much of what we do. Some of the things that may not be obvious at our information table align with some of the other programs that people are offering. We have a peer mentoring program. We have navigators, which are hard or electronic, that you can get for free at any point in your diagnosis and journey, from initially diagnosed through long-term survivorship, or if you're metastatic. We have a very specific co-survivor program, which is part of our grant that you've probably noticed in the schedule this weekend. There's a very specific co-survivor track, and there's a very specific metastatic track. So I'm not going to be able to capture everything. I bet there are things on the website I don't even know. But please do stop by all of their exhibit tables. These ladies will actually be there. So look at their faces so you'll know who to look for, and you know that YSC has a big information table. And be sure to meet your regional outreach manager for your part of the country. If you're interested in a face-to-face networking group in your area, being a state leader, all kinds of opportunities are available. Does anyone have any questions pertinent to what they've heard today? Even though you can go stop by their exhibit tables, if there's something that you're thinking, I really want to ask this question while I'm thinking about it, that we can help answer for you. Wait a minute, because we're recording, so I want to, let me have this one. You talk in here, how about that? And then I'll come to you next.
Actually, the question had to do with exactly what you're doing, you're recording.
Yeah.
When are these, so we can hear and spread the word to other organizations that we're related to? That way we can forward this information that they've given us. When will those recordings be available?
I'm going to guess, can you hand that to me? I'm going to guess and say, keep checking the website, because there's a whole AV section by year and subject matter. I'd say give it a month, and if it's longer than a month, email me. Okay.
The personalized care package, is it free to order it, and where can we sign up for it?
Right here.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else? Let me ask by a show of hands, did you learn something new today that you didn't know before you walked in the room? Okay. And did you learn about organizations you didn't know about? Raise your hand. So to me, that is the success for all of us. So please do check out everybody's exhibit tables. And, if you think of something after the fact, all of their contact information is going to be there. If all else fails, email me, and I will get your question to the organization that you're interested in. And thanks for coming.
Thank you.